Hi everyone. You have finished submitting essay or project number 3, which was the rhetorical analysis of an advertisement. And we are segueing into your final writing assignment, which is the descriptive paragraph. Normally, when I've taught English Comp, I combine description and narration, and those are two modes or genres of writing that work really well together. But for this final paragraph, I'm asking you to focus specifically on the mode of description, which is basically using sensory details. So think of your senses: touch, taste, sight, smell, and sound, and figurative language. So things like similes and metaphors. And I'm going to go over this in a little bit more detail in this video. So when we write descriptively, we are trying to invite our reader to experience something with us. And if you've read a really good book with a description, you know that you can create these wonderful images in your mind that put you there with the characters in the book. And there are a few books that I have read repeatedly in my life, and I've created these mind palaces, if you will, that are like comfortable places for me to visit in my mind. And a really good piece of descriptive writing will help the reader feel as though they're there with you. So when you are writing descriptively, you're paying more attention to what you can see and smell and hear and feel, and sometimes taste, depending on what you're describing. And so we've all got these rich sensory descriptions that we live with every day. We might not always pay attention to them, but right now it's springtime and things are starting to blossom. And my husband and I took a walk last night and it was kind of misty. And so there's that fresh smell of rain and the earth. And then you walk by a tree that's in bloom. So it's those kind of crabapple and lilac type smells. And smell is one that is very strongly associated with memory. And so when you write descriptively, you want to move beyond just what you can see. You want to focus on all of the details. So, I see the wet pavement, I see the birds, but I also hear the birds. I hear the robins chattering at each other, and I smell the lilac, and I feel the cool, misty, spitty rain on my face. So when you're writing descriptively, you are focusing on all of those sensory details. And again, it gives us a bigger, more encompassing experience to read a sensory detailed description. So when you think about writing with senses, think about describing something average that maybe somebody doesn't have a lot of familiarity with. And so I'm looking for things around my desk that I could show you. I have these fingerless gloves that my mother-in-law knitted for me. And so obviously some of the things that I note are that they're a kind of soft green and that they're fingerless. But I can also talk about the way that they feel. It's a tight knit. She did a good job of knitting it. There's no loose gaps, so there's no air that gets in. It's soft with a little pill to it. And again, that green is not just like a grass green. It's kind of a soft, I don't know, deserty green. There's a little speckle to it. Doesn't smell. And I'm not going to taste it. But when we write descriptively, we try to incorporate multiple senses. So when I have students in class with me, I have them pick one of the objects on the screen. So an ostrich, a dump truck, a baby blanket, and a strawberry. And I ask them to write as many words or phrases that they can think of that would describe this item to someone who's never seen one before. And you start to pay attention to things like size and comparisons and texture and smell. Obviously, a baby blanket is going to be softer and maybe smell worse or better than a dump truck, which is going to have the metallic component to it and might smell like dirt, might smell like garbage, might have a loud backup beeper. So all of those things that we think about that give us an item help to place us in the topic we're writing about. So you want to avoid what I call postcard writing. I write postcards to my mother and my mother-in-law. I try to weekly because I know they both enjoy getting mail. And it's basically a recount of my week. It's nothing very descriptive. There's not a lot of room for it. And so it gives you an idea of what my life is like, but it doesn't really put you there. And if I have more room, I might write a letter. And what I'd want to do is place my reader here instead of what this was. So we went to the ocean, basically. If you want your reader to be there with you, think about a description like this. My sister and I walked along the boardwalk one afternoon on our vacation. The hot boards warmed our bare feet. We watched the foam-covered waves topple over each other and then slide back into the sea. The crashing water competed with the exuberant yells from the seagulls. We bought a perfectly oval fluff of pink cotton candy that dissolved sweetly in our mouths. Afterwards, we walked along the edge of the water, letting the warm, salty air blow our hair away from our necks as the cool water lapped over our toes. And hopefully, as I'm reading that, you can start to get that image in your mind. You can feel the air on the back of your neck. You can feel that cool water on your toes. And that's what you're trying to go for. You're trying to give us an experience. Here's a paragraph on getting out of bed, and it uses figurative language to do that. So the coffee tickled the tip of my nose. I slung my arm like an elephant trunk. I edged awkwardly like a butterfly from a cocoon, and I tied my robe at my waist like a prestigious coat of armor. These are all examples of figurative language. Most of them are similes or metaphors. And so you can use these to help create that visual and to give us more depth into what we're reading. The other thing you want to do when you focus on descriptive writing is use concrete nouns and concrete words. I have you doing a grammar exercise on this week, but concrete words are kind of what they sound like. They are things that you can touch. And as one of the authors that I reference in your exercise for this week, it's something that you can drop on your foot. And so it is something that can be sensed through your senses. So I say desk, and we all know what a desk looks like. So there are different variations of it, but it's going to look similar for all of us. A phone, a pen. So things that I can hold or I can drop on my foot. Those are things that are concrete. And when we write with concrete words, they put images in our reader's mind. Whereas if you write with abstract words, these are emotions or concepts, we're not necessarily going to have an image that pops into our brain when we talk about love and patriotism and intolerance and ignorance and hatred. We might have concepts and we might flash to a certain news story, but they could be different for all of us. So for instance, patriotism, for some people, it is always standing with your hand over your heart, taking your hat off, the American flag, the eagle soaring, the mountains. It's fireworks. For other people, it's protesting, it's speaking out, it's going to city council meetings, it's even flag burning. So those ideas of abstract words are different for everybody, and they're not concrete. We can't touch them, we can't feel them, we can't smell them. And so they don't work as well when you're writing descriptively. The other thing you want to do is be aware of the word choice that you use or the diction. So try to be careful of cliched phrases. Those are those things that we've heard or said a million times. They work in conversation, but when you're writing, you want to be fresh and original. And the more specific you can be, the better. So when I say dog, you might all have a different image of a dog in your head. I usually go to a lab because that's the experience I've had with dogs, but someone might think terrier, someone might think Dalmatian. And so if you can be specific to put the reader's mind there, that will help the reader. And then I usually, when we do this in class, give you some different exercises that we do together, like think of the types of voices that you hear, pleasant and unpleasant, hair that you see, pleasant and unpleasant, and how you would describe them. And you're trying to create a mood or a sense of detail when you write descriptively. So think about the mood that you want to create. Is it happy? Is it sad? Is it evocative? Is it sensual? Is it relaxing? And I think the prompt that you have for this paragraph is relaxing. So what are some words or phrases that you can use that makes the reader feel relaxed? All right. I think the rest of it's mostly just examples of tone. So that's a brief overview of sensory detail, touch, taste, sight, smell, and sound, and then a little bit on figurative language like similes and metaphors. Hope that helps. Thanks.